Investigated.
Extremists who were once considered fringe are becoming more mainstream, emboldened by the rhetoric they hear.
Are you not concerned that by blocking the aid going to Gaza, a lot of Palestinians who are already suffering are starving?
It's a wrong question, okay? Because the aid gets to Hamas.
The issue for Israel now goes well beyond the occupation.
כמה אני חושב שצריכים להרג עד שלא יהיה חמאס. אם צריך להרוג מיליון, מיליון.
It will always be the response of the West. If we are exaggerating, if we are war criminals, if we are genocidal thoughts. בסדר.
ממש לא אכפת לי, ואני לא חושב שצריך להיות חיים ביום שאחרי בעזה.
All right. So in a minute here, I'm going to get to some polling, just showcasing the thoughts from Israelis themselves about Palestinians. And, you know, this to me is really about brainwashing. There has been just this decades-long propaganda campaign on young people growing up within Israel or, again, Zionists that live outside the country who simply believe things that aren't true. And this gets to how people are able to dehumanize the lives of others, in this case, the lives of Palestinians. How to them, Palestinians are not equally human the way that they are. So I think it's important to understand that, and that, you know, there isn't just evil. There are reasons why people feel the way they do about certain issues. And often it gets to upbringing, it gets to brainwashing, it gets to a perspective that has never been challenged, and they simply view things a certain way. And it is simply how they feel because it's what they've been taught. And it's not because they're evil or, you know, whatever sort of magical reasoning. There is actual reasoning, human psychology behind the reason why people feel the way they do about certain things. This gets to this polling here. So from the Times of Israel, but this is a Pew Research poll, half of Jewish Israelis say Israel should run Gaza after the war. Only 19% of Israeli Jews believe peaceful coexistence is possible with a Palestinian state. Keep in mind, this is the perspective from the country that has bombed over 40,000 civilians and has continued to dominate and control much of the occupied territories in terms of the borders, in terms of what comes in and out, food, water, land, air, sea. This is to feel this way about people that you dominate, that the Israeli government dominates with their policy, is simply maniacal. Now, to get deeper into some of the data here. So again, Pew Research polling. This is asked who should govern Palestinian enclave after the war. Half of Jewish respondents said Israel, which already, like, you hear these criticisms of Palestinians or Hamas, that they don't want Israel to exist. That's what we hear. Israel is currently not only putting that into practice by completely demolishing Gaza, but people that live there, and this half, we're talking, these are the civilians. People in power in Israel don't want Gaza to exist. Netanyahu wants full control of Gaza. He has said this himself. So even apart from public polling on this, and I want to be clear as well, public polling should not necessarily dictate policy. People are often, I mean, for obvious reasons here, but people are often, there's propaganda. So, like, for example, in the early 2010s, gay rights was not a big issue. Most people did not believe in gay rights, did not believe in marriage equality. And then people grew and and realized that people in their lives, friends, family, were gay, and all of a sudden developed humanity for people who were queer. So it took time. It takes time for certain issues to take hold and for people to feel some sort of connection to it. And that is the main reason why public polling should not be the sole decider of policy. But it is something worth looking at in terms of just where people currently sit, and then we can debate why they may feel that way. But in this case, this is completely insane to think that Israel should completely control Gaza in this case. So I also highlighted this here. 8% said people who live in Gaza should decide. Only 8% of Jewish Israelis apparently believe in democracy, at least for Palestinians. Now, you could maybe increase that number by adding, the 10% that think the Palestinian Authority should be in control, and then maybe the 5% who said the authority without a boss. So, you can maybe add those numbers to it. But the majority of people, the majority of Jewish Israelis believe that Israel should be in complete control. That is insane. Now, among Arab Israeli respondents, 37%, so a plurality here, believe the people who live there should decide. That is the answer. That is democracy. The people that live there should decide who's in control. That should be obvious. So, maybe that's the Palestinian Authority, maybe it's not, but regardless, the people that live there should decide. Now, I just want to, this is the poll itself, the Pew Research poll that the state is pulled from. But I just want to show you how they frame it, because the framing means so much when it comes to, whether or not a news outlet's going to pick up the story. In this case, the way they frame this is no clear consensus among Israelis about the future of governance in Gaza. I would frame this as a majority of, or we should say, I guess, a plurality of Israeli adults, but a majority of Israeli Jews do not believe in democracy for Palestinians. That is the proper framing of data like this. Now, you could argue, well, it's Pew Research, they're just straight data, but there is this idea that neutral language isn't political is incorrect. This is political. Ignoring the obvious here is a political choice. It's a political choice to ignore the fact that a majority or a plurality of Israeli adults or a majority of Jewish Israelis do not believe in democracy for Palestinians. To me, that is the most important data point to come out of this. So regardless of political leanings, that should be the focus here. Understand, regardless of how things are framed, it is political. Taking no position is a political position. This idea that, staying out of it isn't political. No, you deciding not to use your voice or get involved or become informed. And to be fair, look, there are limitations, right? We can't all be reading up on every single mass atrocity every single day. But in terms of people, when it comes to news outlets and their job and politicians and their job, to not take positions is in itself a position, because you have a platform, you have a voice as a news outlet, as a politician. If you are not using it in the right way, you are taking a position and essentially saying you do not care. Just to end on this, so the difference here between the two. Majority in U.S. now disapprove of Israeli action in Gaza. So this is actually from March. I imagine it's only gotten more I guess, the drastic, the difference between approve and disapprove. But you see how it's dropped. Approval has dropped from 50% to 36% since November. So the more that the public is becoming aware of what is actually going on, the less support they have for it. So Data for Progress has similar data here showing 7 in 10 U.S. Actually, sorry, I want to go back here just to show you the graphs. So there you go. November, and this is, I guess, all voters. So 50% approved, 36% now approve. Massive drop. And they break it down by party as well, I believe. Here it is. So changes in views of Israeli military action in Gaza by Party ID.